Good morning. Thank you all so much for joining today, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me to speak. I'm Jen Rowland. I'm a science advisor in USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service in the New Technologies and Production Methods Division. My background is in microbiology, so it's been really great to hear about all the exciting developments happening in the microbial biotech space. Today, I'm going to share with you some information about the Foreign Ag Service, our division's mission, and take a brief look at the global regulatory environment for microbial biotechnology focused on food uses. FAS links U.S. agriculture to the world to enhance export opportunities and global food security. We have economists, trade and marketing specialists, scientists, and other subject matter experts. In addition to the DC staff, FAS has a global network of offices, over 90 offices covering 171 countries. Offices are staffed by agricultural attachés and locally hired ag experts who are the eyes, ears, and voice for US agriculture around the world. FAS staff identify problems, provide practical solutions, and work to advance opportunities for US agricultural exports and support US foreign policy around the globe. FAS has four main program areas and services. First is trade policy. FAS expands and maintains access to foreign markets for US agricultural products by removing trade barriers and enforcing US rights under existing trade agreements. We also have market development and export assistance programs. FAS partners with more than 70 cooperator groups representing a cross-section of the US food and ag industry, and manages a toolkit of trade promotion programs to help US exporters develop and maintain markets for innumerable food and agricultural products, including genetically engineered microbes and their derivatives. We also provide data and analysis. FAS's network of global contacts and long-standing relationships with international groups contribute to the agency's unique market intelligence capacity. FAS analysts provide intelligence on foreign market conditions, prepare production forecasts, assess export opportunities, and track changes in policies affecting US ag exports and imports. We also contribute to food security. FAS leads USDA's efforts to help developing countries improve their agricultural systems and build their trade capacity. We also administer food assistance programs that support agricultural development and education to ensure long-term food security so that foods are available, affordable, healthy, and fit the needs of the country. In the New Technology and Production Methods Division, we have a team of 10 made up of both trade policy specialists and scientists like me. There are many elements to New Tech's mission, but the fundamental mission is to maintain market access and open new ones for products of agricultural biotechnologies. Within that mission, New Tech focuses specifically on facilitating US exports of products of ag biotech, mitigating trade barriers, advancing the adoption and acceptance of innovative technologies, and fostering the development of enabling policy environments. In order to fulfill our mission, we use several tools in the New Tech toolbox. We monitor regulatory developments and changes around the world and advocate for science-based and risk-proportionate regulations. We also coordinate with like-minded countries to improve the landscape for products of agricultural biotech. And we create and support programming to form ag biotech discussions globally. In January of this year, just a few weeks ago, New Tech sponsored a workshop for researchers and developers in India to share latest updates on microbial biotech for food uses and featured discussions of the regulatory pathway for novel foods or ingredients. While the event was targeted to one country, attendance was not limited, and the audience of nearly 850 attended virtually from over 50 countries. In 2021, New Tech sponsored a similar workshop for European Union stakeholders. The shift to online activities during the ongoing pandemic, while limiting in some ways, has allowed greater global participation in conferences and workshops, which you see at this workshop yesterday and today. We've seen growing enthusiasm around the world for better understanding of how products derived from microbial biotech are regulated. We in UTech work with FAS staff around the world to help develop these timely and informative events. USDA FAS also has many embassy activities. Foreign service officers from USDA work together with others at the embassies, which we also call posts, including locally employed staff who provide expert country knowledge. These embassies provide many services and conduct activities, including those that promote the adoption and use of ag biotech. In the picture on the left, a United States agricultural attaché attends the opening ceremony of the Crop Biotechnology Center in the Philippines. Additionally, overseas operations produce many reports, including the Biotechnology Annual Report that is available to the public. The Biotech Annual Report covers trade and regulations of ag biotech products for each country in a region. Embassies also report out on important developments such as new approvals of ag biotech crops and products, which I'm showing on the image capture on the right, a notification that Philippines was the first in the world to approve golden rice for propagation. These publicly available documents represent the views of the United States Foreign Service officers at Post and are a helpful window into regulations and policy developments happening in that country. When first introduced, the Biotechnology Annual Report focused on plant biotech, and a chapter on animal biotech was later added. In 2020, for the first time, Post collected information on the regulations of microbial biotechnology. Currently, the microbes chapter is focused on food or feed uses, but may be expanded in the future to include other agricultural uses of biotech microbes. If you want to find out more about how a country regulates microbial biotech or biotech plants or animals, you can download the Agricultural Biotech Annual Report and many others from the Global Agricultural Information Network, or GAIN system. The Biotech Annual Report is one way we publicly report on changes in the global regulatory space. And now I want to share with you some of the information that we gather from those reports with regards to the global regulatory environment. In UTech, we think there are three factors to global success of commercial products, including developing an effective product, finding market acceptance, and taking into account the regulatory environment. The global regulatory environment greatly impacts the market access for your products. Today, I'll focus on the regulatory environment for some food ingredients derived from microbial biotechnology. In this workshop, you've heard from EPA, FDA, and USDA, who all play a role in regulating products of biotechnology in the US. But we're not alone in this world, and other organizations, international agreements and treaties, and other countries' regulations also form a part of the regulatory environment and impact your ability to get products to market. Each country makes its own regulations, drawing on a variety of sources. The regulatory environment is complex and there isn't consensus. The way your product is developed, its traits, and its intended uses may all affect how a product is regulated. As I've mentioned, I'll be focusing on microbial biotechnology products in food, not the regulations on importation or field release, because to cover all of that would take much longer than the time we have today. To show you a bit more about how microbial biotechnology for food might be regulated, I'm just showing a brief case comparison, looking at the regulations from People's Republic of China versus Canada. In China, only enzymes derived from genetically engineered microbes are allowed into food or feed, not other ingredients. Enzymes must be whitelisted, but no label is required when the purified enzyme is incorporated into food or feed. In Canada, enzymes, proteins, and other ingredients derived from genetically engineered microbes may be used in food, but they must be on a food additives list. Labels are not required for the purified products. And ingredients derived from GE microbes are not treated differently than their conventionally derived counterparts. This is just one example of some of the information that you can find in the Biotech Annual Report. But you can also find information about a country's research and development activities, its imports and exports, and if there have been any market acceptance studies performed. In addition to the domestic regulations, there are also international standard setting bodies that countries may rely on for food safety and risk assessments. The Codex Alimentarius is a resource we in FAS and others may use as supporting evidence to facilitate the development of science-based and risk proportionate regulations. Not only does Codex Alimentarius list safe food and feed ingredients, but it also has recommendations for performing safety assessments, including on genetically engineered organisms and their products that end up in food or feed. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, has done previous work on non-food genetically engineered microbes and also has a microorganisms section in its working group for the safety of novel food and feeds. In the last few slides, I've told you a little bit about how FAS works to collect information from around the world to understand market access issues and regulatory environments for food and ingredients derived from microbial biotech. It's a complicated and changing environment, and the new tech team is constantly advocating for science-based and risk proportionate regulations. To finish up my time with you today, I'd just like to take a brief look at what the future of food ingredients derived from microbial biotechnology looks like. Some of the countries that are well known for their traditional use of microbes in foods, such as cheese making, yogurt production, and other fermentations, are also leading the way in the innovative uses of microbial biotech, such as making enzymes from genetically engineered organisms to make food tastier. Both public and private sector are involved in this innovation. And there are some new countries entering the game, with venture capital firms from around the world investing in new uses for microbial biotech. With that, I'd like to say thank you, and I'd be happy to take questions now if there's time, or I will be present at the Q&A later on. Thank you again.